right, my name is Grandpa Tim. What we've got here is the HaRdLUG's Medieval Village collaboration. It is 6 base plates wide and about 23 base plates long. It was put together by a group of 17 to 18 collaborators. We first drew it out, giving elevations for each of the squares. We made a high corner, brought it down to a forest encampment, brought it up to the castle, down to the village, sloping down towards the ocean and sloping down towards the river. So we've got angles in all directions. The corner begins with a mountaintop with a castle, sheep, and some Robin Hood men hiding out. It goes down through a river from the top of the mountain, down a waterfall, down another river. There's a secondary river that joins the same river, and halfway down that river we have a mill pond to feed the water flow into the water mill.
And before we get away from the mountainside, I really do like the landscaping.
Oh, Micah did a superb job of making the cliffs stand out. They are just awesome. Everybody who's come by has liked that cliff drop.
And it's a little bit hard to see, but the waterfall back there spares no.
No, that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
He has done a lot of work on making that work, but that is a hard space to see except from over where Jim is standing, and that's quite a distance. We put up an extra large tree right next to where the rapids run down to go down towards the real river. We have that joining the flow from the mill pond. And then we have over here in this corner, we have a winery. You can see the grapes being stomped here, collected and being stomped. You can see the casks being shipped out. Over here you can see the grapes being picked and put in bags. On the far corner you see one of the workers bringing in an extra wheel for a cart that was broken. And over on this side, our ode to the Monty Python movie. We have 2 serfs with coconuts and a knight and a king that have no horses.
Took advantage of that extra brick height to get some detail.
Oh yes, he put
underneath the ground there.
He did. He put a number of things underneath the ground. He also wrote the words "hard" on this side and "lug" on that side, so it stands out indented. Here we have Adam Mosery's water. He's an excellent playing with water. He built this farm over here with a windmill, a raging rapids. We have the shipman's farm. We have the bandit encampment or the soldiers' encampment. Over here we have a modified, we have a modified Hagrid's hut, and that's the doorway into the winery. Comes across over here, and this is the wheelwright building. And next to that, we have where the Fox Army is attacking the castle. Micah developed a trebuchet that has been working all day.
3, 2, 1.
Oh! Hit it, a bell up there.
You got him.
Hit a bell up there.
Did it hit someone?
Oh, they got
Hit this guy right there. Oh, that's it.
Over on this side, we have the castle, which is a beautiful, beautiful castle. It's got intricate details. You've got to look at the inside of each building. They're all tiled. Everything is done here. We've got a moat down here. We actually have a swimmer down there with a couple of beers. Must be a soldier on leave.
He's not aware of this ambush that's about to happen.
Not yet. He'll find out soon. Okay, on the inside of the castle, you can see we put some scenery and a well and pieces so the kids looking in can see something. It looks nice. This is a multi-generational castle. A lot of castles only had one iteration. That would be the gray initial defensive portion. But when you have a multi-generational castle, what happens is you end up finding the next couple generations builds on what the foundation was before. They've made their money, they're making more money, so they build another portion on top that is not as drafty or as bad, is much better. And then a couple generations later, you go to the red portion over here, they even do a different job with a different setup. So you got to remember there's two multi-generational buildings here, the castle and the cathedral that we'll begin talking about in a minute.
We'll come back for a more detailed look at some
of the castles. Okay. There. Over here we have a tournament field and a feasting area. We have pavilions for the knights. We've got a stand for Sir Leo, who is in charge of this castle. We've got 2 knights jousting. We've got 2 soldiers sword fighting, and we've got 3 people doing bow and arrow. We've got a stilt walker here, and this is all an ode to Jim, who built the castle. Jim is a professional sword fighter. He is a juggler par excellence with everything from fire to sharp weapons, and he's a stilt walker. We have the food, because the one thing about any kind of a feast or event was that this is where everybody got to eat their heart's content. So we've got a huge table loaded with food. We've got a pasture in the back that hooks up to where the other stables are. There's another indoor stable over on this side. We've got the peasants living in the middle.
So no one's going hungry here, but
nope.
They might get a whiff of the cows.
Yeah.
I mean the horses.
Well, if you look at the horses that are down here, they all have something right behind the horses. Nancy decided to put what they drop behind every horse at the same distance, and we made a joke that we did not think horses all went poop at the same time. So
it lightens the load.
Here we have a farmer's market. And by the way, we want you to be aware that the drapings over the farmer's market are very real Lego material. It was delivered in the Lego box as wrapping. So it came from Lego. Over here we have a blacksmith shop. We have a couple of business houses. In the front we have one of the most important houses. If you see this, this is the mead hall. Between the winery and the mead hall, we kept our people pleasantly pleased. In front of the winery, of course, is the aviary with all of the flowers and bees to make the honey.
Yeah, all the tulips brighten up this.
Oh, they do. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Over here we have the beginnings of the abbey. Behind that we have a house, and behind that we have kind of a mess of a yard, which was realistic. Over here we have an area where it's a graveyard, and in front of the graveyard we have the GameStop. You ask me what a GameStop is? A GameStop is different from what we think, because game back in the medieval time had to do with food, wild venison, deer, whatever. So this is your meat locker.
Well,
and it was put together by an adult with his 6-year-old son, and they loved the pun.
Looks like they cut some
there's
of meat there.
There's a little bit of an anachronism in there with the dinosaur tail. And over here we have the watchtower. And on the end, when we go to Chantilly, we're going to have the docks. But here is the other generational building, which is the cathedral. A cathedral would take up to 100 years to build. And if you see the wheel there with the weighted beam, this is as close as we could get to the actual building of cathedrals back when. They would have a person-powered wheel to wind the rope up, and when they got too high, they would dismantle this completely, lift it piece by piece up to the next level, re-put it together, and use it again and again and again, going up higher and higher. Slow work in putting together a cathedral, also because when you're doing a cathedral, they're carving the stone. They're doing all the pieces as they build. So
when you go to Chantilly, what's going to be the progress of this cathedral?
Hopefully quite a bit.
Okay.
We anticipate that there will be a significant rise.
Yeah, this is a really massive layout here that you've got, and it comes together really well, even though you've got, did you say 17 different collaborators?
Yep.
Okay.
And that doesn't count a couple that had to drop out because they couldn't make today's attendance, but they will be at Chantilly. So we had a very excited, enthusiastic group of people that worked together in true collaboration. What we did was we delineated each of the blocks, and each block was a plate, 32 by 32. And a person would say, I want 1 or 2 or 3 or 6 plates. And then they would tell us what they wanted to build. We had only a couple of hard and fast rules. One is the roads and the river were pretty much sacrosanct, so that you are not allowed to modify them much. But everybody built their own version. We didn't know what other people were building until we actually put together on Thursday. And it looks very nice, in our opinion.
And I heard that you just tiled all of this
Jim
up.
and Mr. Shipman had the idea about 3 days before we came that we had tiled the upper portion, but we hadn't tiled the bottom portion. So he said, let's call Jim Butte, who made all the roads in the river, and see if we can get to tile them. He agreed. So we brought tile, everybody brought their tile, and we were still short about 4 plates in the middle by Friday. And then Micah came in with 2,000 light blue tiles, and we got it done.
Well, it looks really great under the lights here.
The tile makes a feeling of depth to the river, narrow, deeper. It works out really well. We are pleased that it came together. Some of us were not quite sure we would make the deadline. Jim, I'm going to let you take the castle.
Hello, I'm Jim Edmondson. Yes, I built BrickFair Castle. I've been working on it for about a year, and I've estimated about 35,000 pieces in it. And it's been sort of my passion project. I like castles. I used to do medieval reenactment, sword fighting, and all that. I built the castle with large outer walls, a couple of major buildings inside the castle, other doors and access to various areas inside. I have not actually built any interiors inside the building.
How long have you been working on this project?
About a year.
So only a year to build this up.
Yes.
That's pretty remarkable, if you ask me.
Different buildings and parts of buildings are inspired by different real buildings around the world.
How are your minifigures holding up after being
Well,
attacked by the pumpkin launcher?
Several minifigs have been knocked down by the trebuchet, but plenty are surviving.
I see the princess is still intact there.
Yes, she was not my work. Someone else added her. If you notice the faceted wall on the front of the Tan building, that's inspired by the Palace of Facets in the Moscow Kremlin and by a similar building in the Pena Palace in Portugal. I like tiling everything in sight, so I've done a lot of tiling everywhere I can. I'm told the small decorative tiles in the middle section are control panels from something Star Wars. I was not aware of that when I bought them. I like using old discolored bricks to give it a textured look and an aged look. I don't think that a castle should look perfect and new. The arrow slots are authentic as well. The arrow slots are wider in the back using cheese slopes. so that an archer has room to work inside. Again, based on real European castles. Have weapons stored along the tops of the towers.
Look at the drawbridge there.
The drawbridge does lift, the portcullis goes down. And I've decorated with flowers and greenery everywhere, just again to try to give it some color and interest.
Looks great. What's the future look like for this castle and this medieval setup?
The castle will be demolished and replaced with a different style of castle. The medieval setup will be improved and enlarged a little bit for the next show we do in the summer.
All right. Well, looking forward to seeing the next display.
I give thanks to Tim and Jim for giving me this personal tour of this immaculate layout that they and the Hampton Roads lug have here at BrickFair, Virginia, 2023. You can find more information about their lug through the links posted in the description of this video.